So the 3-decade-long release process will begin in a couple of hours. To discuss more, we are joined by Walter Sim from the Straits Times this morning. Welcome back to the program, Walter.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
There have been speculation that it could start as early as late August, but why do you think Japan has decided to push for the release today? Is it because earlier the better?
Well, indeed, I do think that the August 24th date, that is today, actually did catch quite a number of people by surprise here in Japan, because it was just last Sunday, after all, that Prime Minister Fumio Kishida went to Fukushima himself to inspect the site. And so things have really accelerated here since his return from Camp David on Sunday. But I suppose Mr. Kishida saw no reason to delay the process any longer after receiving first-hand explanations and a visual confirmation himself that it was really all systems go. So the IAEA has endorsed a plan. Japan has also put in plenty of diplomatic and domestic outreach as well. But whether or not Japan should be trying even harder, doing even more to convince the naysayers and detractors will of course be up for debate. But I do think it's impossible for Japan to convince everyone to come on board. And the sense here is that kicking the can down the road further will not help matters, especially since the water tanks on the site are already nearly full.
Right. Now, I can't stress this enough. It's a 30-year-long operation, a long way to go. But what happens if there are issues that get in the way in terms of safety or even technical glitches?
Well, exactly. And I do think that this is indeed a very large and very valid concern. And Japan, as well as the plant operator TEPCO, did promise to stop operations immediately if something goes wrong. I also understand that South Korea, on its part, has also requested for an immediate halt, immediate suspension if things were to go wrong. So the discharge facility does have fail-safes. So there are emergency isolation valves built into the facility, and these can be activated both automatically and manually to suspend the release in case of any anomalies. So this could be, for instance, if the tritium water levels breaches the standards as agreed on, or in case of a natural disaster event, so be it an earthquake or a tsunami.
Right. On top of that, info sharing from Japan, the IAEA gave South Korea a separate promise that it will update the country with regular updates regarding the release. But how much helpful is this guarantee for South Korea then?
Well, I do think that the intention of the guarantee is really to help allay fears or concerns. And so to do that, of course, more information and more transparency will be better than less information or less transparency. And the IAEA chief Grossi also did say that the only way to address legitimate concerns of the public is to keep them informed. So interestingly, I was speaking to an expert on risk perceptions, and this expert did say that people would tend to give more weight to their fears of the unknown and of, potential catastrophic impact than to hard science. And so it does not help that this science in itself has been disputed despite the backing of the IAEA. And the issue does seem especially combustive in South Korea, where opposition to the plan seems to be split along political lines. On that note, I really cannot say for sure if the guarantee will be effective when there's a change of government.
Right. Then would you say, for now, at least for now, is this something that South Korean government has done well, securing that promise from the international agency?
Definitely. And I do also think that the IAEA as well as Japan know the need to constantly engage with the South Korean government. South Korea is, of course, definitely a very important stakeholder in the Indo-Pacific region.
Right. And, the release is really on the way in about a couple of hours, in less than 4 hours, if it starts at 1 p.m. But what does Japan need to take care of within the release now ongoing then?
Well, Japan, of course, needs to make sure that whatever it releases, whatever it pumps out from Fukushima meets its own standards, because that really is a lot on the line. Japan will regularly monitor radioactivity of the nearby waters as well as seafood, and will provide constant, almost real-time information. It will also have to constantly fight disinformation and fake news, harmful rumors, and of course find ways to engage with regions that are against the plan, such as China, Russia, and Hong Kong. So it's not a case where, the water gets released starting today and that's the end of the story. On the contrary, I do think that Japan's responsibilities will be all the more severe once the discharge begins.
All right, Walter, I'm sure you have a very busy day ahead of you, but you still have a good day today.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Tommy.